Like it or not, for a moment, the earth is where we make our stand.
Wouldn't putting an object in a Faraday cage then negate the electrostatic force causing gravity?
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Hi guys, I've got a parcel that's here. Parcel. Oh, check it out. Of course it's backwards, isn't it? Like in Egypt. Anywho, parcel. Let's have a look. Ah, dear sir, thank you for purchasing this high detail flat earth map. Using our high precision mapping data, we have finally produced an accurate map of the flat earth. That's a FE core. Please, this could be fun. Ah, yes, as you can see, it's a high detailed map. What's that say there? Please inflate before use. If it's FE core, it's probably got a hole in it. Yes. Yes. Very good. Very good indeed. Catch you later. Ta-ta.
I assume by now that all of you know I'm a writer. If you don't, feel free to visit my Amazon author page, where I'm selling all 8 finished books, and soon more, for low, low prices. You want a trashy romantic drama about a teenage rock star? We've got you. You want a survivalist thriller about a rich kid lost in a dangerous jungle? We've got you. How about a sci-fi trilogy about a cyberpunk future where humanity gets caught in a war between giants? Yup. Post-apocalyptic sci-fi with the remains of humanity struggling against an alien invasion? All of this and more. Well, not more, not yet. Give me time. Can be found on my Amazon page. Link below. So, I'm a writer. Yes, I primarily write fiction, but I've dipped my toe into basically every other category at least once. I was always very good at essay writing in school as well. You know when you handed in an assignment and the teacher would pick one of the higher marked assignments and show the class how it's done? Yeah, they usually picked mine. And no, I wasn't a teacher's pet. I actually hated it. Anyway, point being, I knew the structure, and I have the writer's gift to give a little flourish to the meat of it. So when I discovered that Anthony Riley, aka Sleeping Warrior, had supposedly written a thesis about the FE cult, I had to mentally prepare myself. Even then, it completely floored me. I have never seen such a disaster, such a train wreck, such a poor example of effort, structure, and use of language that I knew I was going to have to make a video about it. Now, let me preface a few things. First, the official story. As near as I can tell, what we are about to see is the real deal. This is actually the paper that Riley submitted to his school, allegedly as a law thesis. The premise is that, essentially, heliocentrism should be illegal to teach in schools as it is backed up by pseudoscience, or pseudo-science, or pseudo-space science. He's also produced a variety of excuses related to the leaked paper, such as blaming typos on a complicated decoy plot to expose whoever leaked the paper, and that this is merely a rough draft and was not actually submitted. This very well may be the case, as I do find it hard to believe that this was actually handed in as a finished product, but there is a good amount of evidence to suggest it's real. So, let's get going about the many, many things that are wrong with this paper. Before we even get into the content, something about this first page seems wrong, doesn't it? Let's pull up an example of the first page of a standard dissertation for comparison, shall we? Do you guys see it yet? That's right, it's everything, Riley. You don't start a thesis, a dissertation, or even a high school essay by just launching right into it. You need a title page. Then you should probably have a copyright page, although this is optional. An abstract is also required for any master's thesis or doctoral dissertation, laying out the basics of what your paper is going to be covering in a few sentences. Next, you need a table of contents to make it easier for the reader to navigate through it. Then and only then do you get into the actual content. You also don't italicize the first sentence for seemingly no reason. Maybe he forgot to press enter, and that was actually his title. I mean, I know a thesis title can be pretty long-winded, but is the national curriculum really achieving its intended objectives, or is it actually being used to indoctrinate children through the back door with pseudoscience teachings that are not proven as true yet treated as fact and contrary to the Education Act 1996? Long walk for a short drink of water, my friend. Now that we're reading the words, a sense of despair begins to take over. Oh no. Oh, Riley, no. This is bad. This is really bad, man.
Oh man. Oh God. Oh man. Oh God. Oh man. Oh God. Oh man. Oh God. Oh man. Oh God.
Oh no.
Oh no!
You have 2 spelling mistakes in your first sentence, and 2 unnecessary use of quotation marks. The real problem is, in order to actually get through the content of the paper, we need to set aside the horrible spelling and diction, the inappropriate use of image references, and the incorrect font and spacing. We just have to, because this thing is a minefield of grade school linguistic failure. Let's skim right through it, shall we? He begins by describing the origins of the modern UK national curriculum, which I'm going to skip over somewhat because I can't really speak to any of that. His first real critique is when he cites sections 406 and 407 of the Education Act of 1996, which states that the education system prohibits promoting partisan politics, but also requires the balanced presentation of opposing views. Well, I already see where he's going with this, let's let him ramble on a little more. He takes a long time to tie the partisan politics thing back to the globe, but he finally gets there on page 3. Now, let me read these 2 sentences loudly, slowly, and clearly. In layman's terms, partisan simply means holding strong views of a particular position. A similar adjective is protagonist. In layman's terms, partisan simply holding strong views of a particular position. A similar adjective protagonist.
If you go to Google and search for independent lawyers, you will also find
Protagonist.
Downgrade into population only.
Protagonist, Riley, is not an adjective, and it has absolutely nothing to do with partisanism.
You see, in most movies, the audience needs a character to connect with. Typically, this character is something called a protagonist. I picked a few examples to illustrate this point. Marty McFly, John McClane, Billy Peltzer, Sarah Connor, Neo, Charlie Bucket, Peter Parker, Cliff Secord, Johnny Rico, Rocky Balboa, and Kevin Bacon.
I am honestly not sure what he was going for here, but I guess this is just another error in your law thesis that we have to ignore. Riley then begins to toy with the definition of partisan politics for a while. He points out that to be partisan is simply to prefer one thing over another, but he conveniently ignores how the definition changes when the word politics is added. Partisan politics refers to something very specific. It says, in dum-dum terms, teachers are not allowed to teach that one side of the political spectrum should be favored over another, whether that be liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican, anarchism, communism, fascism, or any other form of political identity. This is very simple stuff. And I will argue, he has something of a point that this is becoming an issue in the education systems of the world. We've all heard stories and seen evidence of some teachers beginning to slip their personal views into their curriculum, and I think that's an issue that should probably be addressed by everyone. The problem is, Riley doesn't care about that real-world issue. He thinks partisan politics means teaching the globe when it's never been proven to his specific liking. What a waste of potential. Riley begins to claim, on page 8, that the knowledge of Copernicus and other founders of the heliocentric model are subject to legitimate controversy because flat earthers exist. He claims that because they exist, however small, insignificant, and stupid, their viewpoint must be taught as an option in schools. However, let's consider the rationale he's using here. By his logic, creationism must be taught in schools, which unfortunately it is in some parts of the United States, as well as Islamic beliefs, traditional Jewish beliefs, Hindu beliefs, Buddhist beliefs, Chinese traditional religion, as well as a number of small indigenous religions and traditional African religions. All of these, by the way, are more popular than flat Earth. But let's expand another issue here, Riley. If we continue to say that all beliefs need to be taught when it comes to anything ever, you have an overwhelming amount of material that has to be covered. Did you know that 2 surviving members of the Heaven's Gate cult continue to update their website to this day? By page 8, Riley is getting confused about how science works. He claims that the sun's distance is verified only by Eratosthenes and radio signal reflections from Jodrell Bank. This is extremely, extremely false. Science gets updated, my friend. We've got the Parker Solar Probe now, the Solar Dynamics Observatory, the Solar Terrestrial Relations Observatory, the Interface Region Imaging Spectrograph, the Reuven-Ramity High Energy Solar Spectroscope Imager, and the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory. We live in an era of helioseismology, spectroscopy, X-ray telescopes, and satellites. Oh, sorry, I forgot, you don't believe in those. Billions of people who work using them daily would beg to differ. Riley then argues that distances are calculated using Kepler's third law on interplanetary motion, which, while true, he fundamentally misunderstands. He says, astronomy can tell you when you will see certain lights and for how long, but that does not mean they know the distance to any of these lights. To get a distance, you need to either measure it directly, obviously impossible, or find a credible way to calculate it so that there is no doubt to its accuracy. Neither exist. What he ignores here, obviously, is that factors can be combined. You can absolutely figure out a distance when you know how fast light moves, and then use that to analyze how long you see a light to get to a distance. Riley then rambles on about Eratosthenes and the sun for a little while more, and then he does an astounding thing. He brings up Carl Sagan and attempts to use a clip from Cosmos as evidence of global indoctrination. And he cites YouTube. Carl Sagan cited the Eratosthenes observation in a video that is now archived on YouTube, in which he said, "The only answer is that the surface of the Earth is curved." We do know that Carl Sagan existed, and we do know that he did promote the mathematics that Eratosthenes also used, because we can actually see him doing it with the advent of archive footage, so we know the children of the 1970s and 1980s were taught this mathematical model. Jesus, use some commas. Alright, pump the brakes, Riley. You have skipped a gigantic step here. Where and when was it carved in stone that Carl Sagan's entertainment television series Cosmos is the end-all be-all of science everywhere, ever, and reflects everything that everyone was taught? Of course, Cosmos is somewhat outdated, but much of what Sagan taught throughout it remains true. However, your assumption that Carl Sagan's word is that of the almighty scientism God is completely false. I'm on page 12 right now, and I'm getting mentally exhausted. I'll tell you what, I'll continue to deconstruct this thing if people want me to, but otherwise, I think I've proven my point. This entire paper is a microcosm for everything wrong with flat earthers. It lacks the structure of the real world, it jumps to conclusions and simplifies real issues, and, even in high school, would fail immediately just for not using a title page and a table of contents. It is a monument to ignorance, arrogance, laziness, stupidity, and failure. Congratulations, Anthony. You've probably written the worst thing ever. And I've read Twilight. I'm just kidding. I think I opened a copy once, read a random sentence, got really annoyed, and put it down. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe to my channel, which is Dead Kennedy in Space. If you want to support me further, consider donating on Patreon or purchasing some of my work through Amazon or Teespring. Thank you, and I'll see you over the curve, Space Cowboys.
Live there, on the mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam, in a vast cosmic arena.